My name is Julia. I'm 30 years old. I'm a working housewife living with my kind-hearted husband, Nick, who is 1 year older than me. We don't have children. We had talked about wanting children before we got married, but it didn't happen. After tests, it was revealed that I have a condition that makes it difficult for me to get pregnant. We discussed for days whether to undergo treatment, but Nick said, "I'm happy as long as I can live happily with you, even without children. So I don't want you to worry too much." And my in-laws also said, "We just want you both to be happy. Yes, we will support whatever you two decide." I remember them saying kindly, which made me burst into tears. Until then I had felt sorry for Nick and my in-laws, but hearing them, I thought maybe I don't need to feel guilty. Since my family, Nick and my in-laws said it's okay not to have children, that's fine. As I came to think that way, my worries have lessened and I feel more at ease. However, the worry did not completely disappear. The reason lies with my parents. They are concerned about what others think and always brought up the topic of children every time we met. Nick and my in-laws understand, so we plan to live together with our kids. Even when I explained this, they would say, "Don't you want to repay us by giving us grandkids?" Or, "What will we do when our neighbors ask, 'Has your eldest daughter had any children yet?'" Nick also tried to explain, but they wouldn't listen. "You're really a failure. I wish you would learn from your sister, Erica." My parents always compare me with my sister Erica, who was 1 year younger than me. They favored her over me from the beginning, and the issue with children seemed to accelerate that. Erica was not only smart but also athletic, and liked by everyone around her. She never bragged about her abilities, always humble and with a good character. I liked her too, and we had a good relationship as sisters. I hardly got in touch with my parents, but Erica can and I occasionally kept in touch. She has a son named David, now 6 years old. As he grew, it became apparent that he had a developmental disorder, but that was the reason she had divorced her husband. "Sis, please keep this a secret from Mom and Dad." Considering their unusual concern for her appearances, who knows what they would say if they found out about David's developmental disorder. Erica must have said that to me, thinking so. Of course, I agreed. While keeping David a secret from our parents, I have been helping her raise her child as a single mother. Then one day, I received a call from the police on my smartphone. "Are you Erica's sister? It's about your sister." After seeing that, the female police officer on the other end of the line fell silent, as if troubled. Something didn't feel right, and even though it wasn't hot, I was still sweating like crazy. As my heart raced and I tried to calm myself, she continued. "Erica has died in an accident." After inhaling sharply, I found myself unable to speak, my mouth hanging open. With a mind gone blank, I somehow managed to convey what the police had said to Nick. He placed a hand on my shoulder, repeating Erica's name in an attempt to calm me amid his own shock. Time quickly passed in a blur due to funeral preparations, and before we knew it, 'twas the night before the wake. Even then, I couldn't fully grasp that she was no longer in this world. I kept thinking she might call me the next day, or that she might come over and have dinner with Nick and me again. I was preoccupied with such thoughts. I wondered whose funeral I was attending. Though it felt like a dream, there was no mistake that Erica's name was present in the funeral hall, her portrait framed and displayed. Is she really gone? While I was mourning with Erica's friends, I heard a voice echo through the funeral hall. "Of course we will take responsibility for raising this child. We will definitely raise him with love, and we will cut ties with you." After saying that, my parents briefly looked shocked, but then scoffed. "Oh, do as you please." I left the scene. 10 years later, David had turned 16. Although he initially seemed unsure and out of place living with us, he now appeared completely at ease. Having hit his growth spurt, he had grown rapidly, surpassing my height. David's not quite as tall as Nick yet, but he's getting there. He's growing like crazy. There was a weirdo lurking near our place. One day afterward, Nick told me about this and he seemed pretty stressed out. Nick told me about this person he saw wearing a really deep hooded parka and he couldn't tell if the person was a guy or a girl or how old they were. This person seemed to be looking for someone, peeking at passerbys' faces before quickly looking away. It looked like they were searching for someone. "If you go out, Julia, please be careful." Heeding the advice, I was cautious about my surroundings for a few days when going out. However, I didn't encounter the suspicious individual in a parka that he had mentioned. Perhaps they were no longer in the area. Just when I had let my guard down on my way home from shopping, that person appeared in front of my house. 2 individuals were sitting boldly. Could they be thieves? No, that would be too conspicuous if so. Wondering about their purpose, I was about to reach for my smartphone to possibly call the police when, "Is that you, Julia? We've been looking for you," the suspect shouted, and I nearly dropped my smartphone in surprise. I managed to pocket it and look toward the duo who had called out. The hoods fell back, revealing without a doubt the faces of my parents. Having cut ties and not heard from them in 10 years, I never expected to see them again, especially them coming to see me. Curiously, I looked at them, wondering what they wanted. "When did you build a house without telling us? If you have that kind of money, you should give some to us. You're such an ungrateful daughter. Can't you think of us?" I was dumbfounded by what they said. Indeed, my parents have been ostracized by their friends, colleagues, and relatives due to their appalling behavior at Erica's funeral. That makes sense. They were pointing fingers instead of being understanding, which made them seem like heartless JRKs to everyone. Especially at my father's company, where his usual arrogance had already spread bad rumors. Nobody doubted the rumors, because it was typical of him to do something unreasonable. As a result, he was naturally moved to a less significant department. Somehow, he managed to work there for 10 years, but had recently opted for early retirement and became unemployed. So, you're saying you're short on money, but he should have received a severance package. My father looked down, shaking his head in frustration. He had quickly squandered his severance in pay and savings. However, I was more resigned and surprised. He had always been prone to wasting money buying unnecessary things and letting them collect dust, even when I lived at home. Presumably, he had spent all his money forgetting about the future lack of income and came to rely on me when he realized he had no money for living expenses. I supported a failure like you until you were an adult, so it's only natural for you to repay us for those expenses. Faced with my father's illogical arguments, I instinctively put my hand to my forehead and sighed. Their refusal to consider getting jobs themselves was characteristically selfish in a bad way. How come you didn't pay us back before building your house? Your son David is a disaster, but you're still taking out a mortgage. My mother ranted nonsensically, however they seemed to be misunderstanding something. We didn't take out any mortgage, though. What? My mother tilted her head, looking confused. I glanced at my father, who mirrored her expression. This house was made possible thanks to David. What? What do you mean? I decided to explain the whole story to my parents. David got really good at coding and used his ability to focus to make apps online. He had been interested in machines since he was young, often intently observing the family computer.